Yes, YouTube, thank you for all the kind words and the appreciation on the last Q&A I did. Here is the second part where I just finished off a few more questions. So we have another question from someone I know, which is quite a good question. What do you struggle with regarding producing? I would probably say arrangement is one of the things I struggle with most. I don't actually enjoy arranging tracks, which is quite funny, considering that's probably one of the most important parts. And if I pigeonhole myself down a reference track or a concept or an idea too much, I can really struggle to arrange it the way I want to. So nowadays I just make a loop and then hope for the best when it comes to arrange and just don't reference at all. So I have complete free reins in how I want to arrange it. That's usually how it works the best, but I wouldn't really say that's just a struggle. It's just something I don't particularly enjoy doing. It does come naturally once I get in the flow of it. It's just a bit of a chore to get in the flow of it. So yeah, hopefully that answered that one. But I think like most of us, the main struggle is balancing everything, whether that's your social life, your family life, work, music work, releasing, social media, DJing, networking, mixes, Instagram content. There's a lot to do and a lot to take in, which I think a lot of people don't realise when they think, I want to be a DJ. There's so much to it that it's worth considering. Do you enjoy making content? Do you enjoy networking? Do you enjoy travelling for DJing? Do you enjoy being isolated? Because most of the time we're just sort of sat in a studio all day. So yeah, there's loads of things to consider. So I would say that's probably the thing I struggle with most, which encompasses producing as well. Do not sidechain delays and reverbs on your send and return tracks. No, I don't. It's probably a good idea if you've got like some crazy echo and delays and stuff like that on it. But if you're just using send and return subtly, which is 9 times out of 10 how they are used, then there's probably no need for it. But there's nothing stopping you. I think it's a cool idea. What's your best tip for a faster workflow on Ableton? So this is a concept I teach with in the one-to-ones that I do, and it's kind of separating your brain or having multiple brains for different aspects of producing. So what I mean by that is you have your idea brain, so that's where you brainstorm ideas and stuff like that, which I recommend just doing on your Apple Notes. I have an Apple Notes full of just track ideas, whether that's samples that I've just heard out and about, whether that's a melody that sort of came into my head and I might hum it into my phone and save it as a voice note. Whatever, I just have ideas on the phone, and then when I come into the studio I have a bunch of ideas. The next brain is the sort of loop brain or the creative brain, whatever you want to call it, and that's just where you just produce the loop and really just vibe out, create whatever you want. Don't worry about the mixing, don't worry about the mastering, don't worry about labels, don't worry about who's going to play it. Just have fun and vibe out. And then the next one would be the arrangement brain. Again, that's more focused on the arrangement. So if you've heard something in the loop and you're going, oh, I'm not sure about that sound, I'm not sure about this, I'm not sure about that, ignore it. It can wait. Arrange the track and then come back to it. Same with mixing and mastering. You know, mix it, master it, then promo it, and then, you know, send it out to labels. A lot of the times what I see a lot of people do, and this is what I used to do myself, is they would come up with an idea in their head, they'll run straight to Ableton, come up with the idea really quickly because they only got half an hour, not develop the idea out, so the idea is not as good as it potentially could be if you had an hour or two to develop this idea. They then upload a 1-minute preview to SoundCloud. They then promo it off to their friends to get feedback. They then take on their friends' feedback, but then they're not sure about it. They've also mixed it in the process, so they've killed that sort of vibe of just creating and experimenting. And then they actually never finish tracks because they've just dotted through so many different areas and so many different concepts and brains, as I just talked about, that they never actually finish stuff. So in a nutshell, break it down into methodical stages. although it's a creative process, if you can make it as methodical as possible, it will make your life easier in the long run. How many fully mixed down beats do you finish in a month? This really varies on how busy my month is with regards to work, mix downs, and one-to-ones. So currently, maybe 3, maybe 4. Sometimes more, sometimes less. It really does vary at the minute. I always try and at least finish 1 a month. I think that's a good habit to get into. But this is really subjective, so hopefully you just want to know this for personal reasons and not necessarily comparison, because just because I can finish 3 or 4 doesn't mean you have to finish 3 or 4. And it's so subjective, because when I was just working part-time and I wasn't really doing much on social media or earning money from music, I was able to make 3 tracks a week almost, whereas now it's almost 3 a month. And my life circumstances are probably very different to most people's with regards to work and so on and so forth. So yeah, hopefully that helps, but I wouldn't compare, because comparison is the thief of joy. I think that's a quote, I'm not too sure, don't quote me on that. I guess that follows quite nicely onto this question: what do you do for work? So I actually primarily do this for work now, as in music, so one-to-one lessons. I do mixing and mastering and selling the sample pack, so I'm going to develop this as a business. There will be a members site at some point next year. I'm not 100% sure when, but it is going to happen, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, I just work 3 evenings a week: Monday evening, Tuesday evening, and Wednesday evening. I work about 16 hours part-time. So yes, I am in a very fortunate position. I'm very grateful that I can do this almost full-time, and hopefully within the next 6 months I will be doing this full-time. But I have been there through the hard times, so the people that are watching this who do 9 till 5 or even work 2 jobs, I know the feeling. Just stick at it, and I can promise you it will pay off, because I used to be in uni and working 25 hours in a part-time job, and then more recently I was working 2 part-time jobs, working 35 hours while I was building this business, services, whatever you want to call it. So I was total working paid per hour around 70 hours a week. So yeah, if you are in that predicament with 9 to 5s, just please do stick at it. I can promise you everyone can make it in one form or another. How do you get yourself out of a rut stage and get back in the studio? Good question. Depends on the concept of rut. If you're just regarding in a rut stage with music, not just life, then the answer is to make more music, funnily enough. If you think you've got writer's block, I can guarantee you writer's block does not exist. You just need to write more, and then you will unblock yourself. Thinking that you've got writer's block and then taking a week off and going out for walks in nature is going to make a difference, and you're going to magically have some crazy inspiration, probably isn't going to happen. The moment inspiration occurs is the moment you sit down to do the work. If you haven't read The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, then I'd highly recommend everyone reads that book with regarding to being an artist. You know, even though we make electronic music on a computer or on a laptop, doesn't mean we're not artists. So yeah, that's how you get out of a rut stage with regards to music. Getting out of a rut stage with regards to life, I can't really talk on that. I'm not a psychiatrist. How I cope with it is by doing difficult things. It's very easy in this modern world, if you're in a quote-unquote bad place, to then just feel sorry for yourself, sit down and watch TikToks all day, eat a bunch of junk food, and yeah, just mope around. So for me personally, I will always exercise if I'm feeling down. If I'm really, really low, I will make sure to get out in nature, so a long walk, maybe even a trial run. even a trail run, stuff like that. Just give yourself some time, have some downtime, but don't let yourself go, and remember that you're the only person who's going to get this work done. Any aspirations of setting up a label one day? Yes, I have actually got a designer in the works designing the artwork. I've had the brand on my mind almost since I've started DJing and producing. Maybe a year or so after I came up with the brand. It's kind of play on with the raving scene as well, not in a comical way, but it's very cool. It suits what I want to do, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to putting that out. That should be next year, so I will be opening up my track stack or my email, my just general inbox, even my number. Most people have that nowadays if they've done one-to-one lessons with me and stuff like that. So yeah, please just send me any music you've got, because there is the possibility of it getting released. It will be on Beatport, and I will be doing an edit series on SoundCloud as well. So yeah, any music, send it to my track stack and I will pop the link below. Tips for getting bass sounding right, end up not liking it, and I can't really say that, might get banned off YouTube. End up not liking it and bleep the whole project off. Yes, so bass is a hard one. If you haven't already watched a YouTube video I've done on it, that will no doubt help. But the easiest thing with bassline is make sure there's enough going on in the track already. You should be able to build a groove out to a point where you can almost hum a bassline. If you've done that, you've got a full, interesting, dynamic groove, and writing the bassline should be really easy. When it comes to mixing it, just make sure that there's enough space in the mix and that it's not too loud, because believe it or not, having it too loud can actually make it sound worse. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Okay, last 3 questions, because it feels like I've been going on for quite a while now. Some sample packs that you'd recommend. Again, I think he's taken the mick with this one. Obviously mine, if you haven't already got it. Link is below. Other than that, the IQ Sound ones are absolutely amazing, I think, in my books. They are my favourites that I use in 99% tracks I make. So go and check them out. The only thing is, the IQ Sound ones are heavily used by producers within this genre, probably because they're so good. So you do have to just get a bit creative with it. If you have a look at my videos on how to make glitchy percussion, you'll see how I manipulate samples in a efficient and really easy way. So yeah, IQ Sounds, mine. The Phantom Sound ones are really good as well. I actually haven't invested in these, but I know a lot of friends use them, and I've used them in lessons as well with people, and they sound amazing. And other than that, I really like the Render sample pack, which is on Loop Cloud, I believe. I know Loop Cloud's super popular at the moment, so if you've got that subscription, then you should be able to get the Render ones. Okay, so last 2, I think these are 2 quite good questions that can help people. So how can I find the label for my music? Really good question, because it's quite obvious but also quite difficult at the same time. So the easiest way to do this is to, 1, just look at the artists you like and then see what labels they've released on. Now granted, probably the artists you've liked have been releasing for a long time. They might even be big well-known touring DJs, so that's very easy to say Jamie Jones is your favourite artist, and Jamie Jones is released on Hot Creations, Hot Tracks and Circo Loco, and then you go, well, there's no way I'm going to be able to release on those labels yet, because they are, you know, the biggest of labels out there. So what I suggest is just finding the smaller artists that you like, go into their back catalogue of music. This can easily be done on Beatport, and just having a look through what labels they've released on. Maybe even have a look at their first release, see what label that was. Just start writing a bunch of suitable labels down, either on a document or on your Apple Notes. And then once you've got a suitable label that you think is going to work for your track, I suggest going to their Instagram They may have their email or their track stack link in their bio. If not, you can always DM the Instagram page and just ask for the email and saying you would like to send some demos. If that doesn't work, find out who runs the label and then direct message the person who runs the label. That's a really nice way of showing that you're actually interested and you've done a bit of research on the label. And yeah, hopefully that would then get you your release. So hopefully that was helpful. That's exactly what I did, and it's worked for me, and I've found many more great labels along the way since I've done that. Last question, would you finish every loop you make to get the experience of finishing a track? Yes. Now, I see a lot, especially with friends and the guys I'm doing lessons with, they just have loads of projects, and they never finish it. So it's a really good experience to finish every single track that you make because of two reasons. One, you are getting that experience of making a track from start to finish, because it's very easy to make a loop, and at the end of the day, a loop is never going to get played out. It's never going to get released. A loop is never going to do anything for your career. Although it's an essential part of producing, it's not going to propel your career forward, or even if it's just a hobby, it's not going to get you those releases that you want just as a hobby. So that's probably number one why I would always finish a track. The second reason is because it's a very bad mindset to have when you make a track, you listen back to it the day after or whatever, and you go, this is crap, delete, on to the next one. Because I can guarantee you, every single track you make, there is some gold in there. There is some good in it. I can promise you that. So next time you have this sort of issue, and this applies to everyone, happens to myself still, is just be a bit more analytical. So open the project back up and you go, no, this idea is not right. Okay, let me find out what is good with this project. And you might go, okay, the kick, the clap, and the percussion groove is really good. I'm just going to delete everything else I made. And then you've already got something there to start building a new idea off of. So you're not wasting your time then, and it gets rid of that negative mindset of, oh, what I just made's rubbish, and then getting in that sort of cycle of making a loop, saying it's rubbish, deleting, starting again, making another loop, delete, so on and so forth. Kind of breaks that loop and is just a more positive, natural mindset to have about producing. And there we go, that is the second part of the YouTube Q&A done. If you have any personal questions that you want answering, comment them below or drop me a DM. Hope you enjoyed that one, and I will see you very soon.